we're here at a snowboard factory and we're producing a snowboard for real. So this here is the base of the snowboard, and they've done what's called a die cut here, where it's cut out of two materials. So you have a black base material and a white base material, and it's cut together to make the die cut base. Now this guy in the orange shirt right now is putting on the steel edge, so putting the metal edge on the whole, all the way around the snowboard, and he's also putting in what looks to be like the little base, piece on the end to give it the strength at the tail. So this here is a steel mold, which is the snowboard mold, which is once you get all the glue and the fiberglass and everything, it gets all pressed together inside the steel. It has two different pieces that go together. So this is the wood core that gets cut out by machine, by a computer. So it's programmed in all the dimensions, then cut out. And then once you've got the sidewalls applied to it, so this is a PU sidewall that's all the way around the board, then they put the core back into a grinder, which grinds out the thickness. So obviously the snowboard's a lot thicker in the middle, and then it gets a lot thinner as you get up towards the nose. Now what's happened is they've put this core in with the base and the middle edge, and they're going to put the fiberglass on and a printed top sheet, and then it's all going to get pressed and sandwiched together to form it into a snowboard. This is the actual, so the poplar, it's got a PU edge already in place, which is the sidewall of the snowboard. These are all the inserts, and that's a little layer of fiberglass underneath the inserts to make it stronger so they don't rip out. So that's you're looking at the bottom of the board right now. Once he's got resin on this, he's going to flip it over. Looks like he's just applying a resin right now to all of the sidewall. And he's going to flip that over, and you'll actually see those are the inserts, covered in fiberglass. But once you get rid of that little bit of fiberglass, you'll actually see the metal screw that gets screwed into. Lots of layers to the snowboard. Lots of resin. We're going to put the top sheet on, and it's going to press all this stuff together in the mold. Getting another layer of rubber here, putting resin on it, and looks like it's probably going to put them on the tails. Giving a bit of elasticity to the tail here, and giving it a bit of strength as well. So this machine is a digital print machine, and what it's doing right now is printing the top sheet of a snowboard. Normally they actually use a different printer for this, but this is just a quick way to be able to put a graphic on a snowboard. What they've done is they've taken the tramp board graphic and the jib board graphic and just enlarged it big enough so it's going to be a snowboard. So it's more or less going to be a replica of our tramp and jib boards. This middle piece is the top piece of the mold. So these holes are to make the position correct when you're pressing the snowboard together. Going to press. So this is the actual press, which presses your snowboard together. It's like a snowboard sandwich called sandwich construction. And inside this is basically heat and air, which creates pressure, and it pressurizes it all together. And once it's done, you start cutting out your snowboard. This machine is called a bandsaw, and once you've pressed the snowboard, you can cut out around the entire metal edge of a snowboard. You don't need to have it done by a machine because this blade is not going to cut through the metal edge. You just guide yourself around the metal edge. Then it went on to the rough sanding, and then it went to the more smooth sanding, and then we took it back over to the CNC machine just to cut out that little part of the swallowtail of the board, because the swallowtail does not have any metal edge on it. So it's done by the machine rather than by hand, just to make it symmetrical. So we're getting pretty close to the final stages of the board production here, and they're going to start doing a base grind and edge grinds and just making it look all perfect. So these two boards have just been in a heated room here for a few minutes. We're in the factory doing this like on the fly, and they've printed it with a different printing method than they normally use, with a different material. So they're a little bit concerned that when we peel off the top sheet, it might take off some of the ink. And I guess we're going to see as we do, but that's why they're in the heated room here, to heat them up before we do the reveal. We're back in the Snowboard Addiction office here, and we now have our tramp board and jib board from our manufacturers. So this is our actual jib board, and that's our actual tramp board with the new graphics. And these are the two snowboards they made for us, which we were there throughout the whole process, and it was super cool for us. So these are actually pow boards, just with the graphics of our jib and tramp board. You'll see that the bases are the same design, top sheets are the same design, one thing that happened is we used a different top sheet material for these boards, which was not the typical top sheet they used because they had ran out of it. So the digital print that they did, unfortunately, it peeled off a little bit as we were peeling the top sheet off, because it was not a material they were used to using this type of printing on. So you'll see that a little bit of some misprinting here, which is actually the top sheet that peeled off. But these are one-of-a-kind boards. They're literally two boards. They're just for us. And pretty stoked to try them out in winter here when we get some good deep days up here. But really happy with how they turned out, and we are stoked to ride these boards and shred the pow.